Okay, you first.
I mean, honestly, it's still one of my favorite titles to play on the SNES, and so I personally think it still holds up, even with the difficulty and whatnot. Still a
For
fun game.
for sure.
And honestly, I like the fact that it's not timed, so
Hmm.
that way you have more time to explore, but also it slowly introduces different enemy units,
Hmm.
so that way you can see what they're like. I feel like that there isn't really a difficulty spike in the game. Game slowly eases you into like the harder difficulties and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Sort of. Basically, first of all, yes, I think Let me say graphically, I think this game still looks really good. Um, you would think that a 16-bit game trying to emulate 3D graphics might be a little dated looking, but it still looks fine. Honestly, I think it still looks really well. Um, I will always prefer like actual for Super Nintendo games specifically. I will always prefer like sprite work, but even the pseudo 3D graphics look fine because 2 weeks ago I had played Stunt Race FX and F Zero with Dylan, and Stunt Race FX specifically was trying to emulate polygonal graphics using the FX chip. And visually, it's pretty cool that the Super Nintendo was even able to remember any kind of polygons of any kind, but visually
Hmm.
it wasn't really the best looking. I mean, it was cool the Super Nintendo could do it, but it really wasn't like, we live in actual polygonal graphics these days. So having the ones that, were playing at it didn't look as impressive. But this one, it's more the art than the attempt. So the art makes it look 3D even though it's still in 16-bit, which I think is what's really cool about it. But barring graphics and had the fact that I still think the game looks really good. Um like you were saying about the gameplay, it does ease you into it. You start off with some pretty easy levels, and then very soon you do learn those new mechanics. New enemies will test your knowledge on stuff, and you'll probably die once or twice to figure out what their deal is. But and once you do figure out, it's pretty much just, again, like you said, no time limits. So you do have patience to take your time with these challenges. So really, we'll just come down to skill and not having to rush to the end of the level, except for bonus stages. But that's a different story. That's just for bonuses itself. Um,
Yeah. And also, I mean, once you get Funky Kong, you can go back to I get the easier worlds
mm-hmm,
and slowly, farm up for more levels. I've done it before
absolutely.
back when I still had my SNES where I had 99 lives. I
And
had it saved with 99 lives. It was great.
yeah, I do think it does help when, especially for a game that's difficult. It does help to have multiple lives. Like when we all did the Super Mario 3D World, the Champions Road. I did go ahead and max out our lives because I knew it'd be difficult, and we burned through 900, and we burned through 900 of them. So yeah, that's a tough level. But that aside, yeah, no, I do like the games that give you the ability to do that, return to level, so you can grind lives if you need to for the harder
But the great
challenges.
thing about the Switch Online is that you can now create suspend points.
Yes, so you can now suspend anywhere. If you want to play it originally, honestly, as it originally the original save points as intended, that's fine too because there's enough candy save points that you can use if you want to just do it
Hmm.
legit. And the save barrels also appear in the middle of levels too, which is very helpful. So the game,
World
uh,
World 2, I think it does have two save candy save points.
yes, 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 and I think there's maybe more as you go forward, but I'm not like you. I don't know, call me out that, but that's my assumption slash memory of it. But yeah,
I never played past World 2, so I can't say much. Heh.
we should. I'm not saying playthrough because I don't necessarily want to do like a stream playthrough this, but we should play more sometime just so I could see more because I don't think I've made it past World Two as well, so we could see more next time. I don't know,
Hmm.
but anyways, yeah, and yeah, what I was saying was yeah, but this game does definitely test your reflexes, especially in those minecart levels. The minecart levels are probably the things that people most associate with Donkey Kong Country. And it's appeared in so many games since that you just gotta have good reflexes because there's no time limit, like, as we said before, but the minecart is constantly moving, so you need to be making like split second decisions, and in some cases, memory, because some of them are just like you don't see it as too late, so you have to know that you needed to jump at that point, otherwise you are
Hmm.
gonna get that collision, and that'll be that.
Yeah,
So,
especially the very last one. Like I remember that
hmm
there was one more that always got to me, but it's always like remembering when it happened.
right, right. So yeah, it's like any difficulty gives difficult platformer or difficult game in general. It's some of it is trial and error, and you have to just kind of like memorize if you want to like get better at it. Like any of these kind of games, the more you do it, the more you get it. And if that's something that interests you, you'll enjoy Donkey Kong Country for sure because it's a fair game, but it is difficult. It is difficult.
Yes, yes, it is a very fair game compared to The Lion King. Uh,
Yes, Lion King, as we said in the
uh.
beginning of the stream, intentionally made to be almost impossible to defeat, just so you would buy it and
There
or
is a
rent.
there is a cheat code on how to bypass everything, and
Yes,
it is great.
yes, and that will let you go into the later levels, and that's what a lot of people probably did to actually see the later levels because that game. Oh boy, hey Kristie, you know what you should do at some point? You should do like your own one off episode of Does It Hold Up with those games. I know you did an article on was it Lion King or both all of it?
Think I did one on Lion King. I may have done one with Aladdin. I don't know. I personally prefer Capcom's Aladdin compared to Virgin Games or Virgin Software's Aladdin.
Okay, yes. You
That's
know
just
what?
me.
I would love. Okay, so you know what you do?
But I am down to do the Lion King, and as everyone watches as I pitifully die.
I will we will talk about that a little more in the future so we can like schedule time to do that. And you know what I would like to do? Like I would like to get the collection myself at some point and see if I agree with you on that because the Aladdin one, that's a common argument I hear a lot. Like some people say the Capcom, I'm sorry, the Genesis version of Aladdin was better. Some people say the Super Nintendo version was better, and I would just love to. I would love for you to like check that out, and then for me to check it out and see if we agree or disagree on that.
It's really
Honestly,
interesting.
yeah,
What's really interesting is that the Aladdin game that they released with the collection,
mm,
that's the Genesis version.
right. But they
Because
also have the Super Nintendo version as well, right? Didn't they have both?
no, they don't.
Oh,
There's a
they
Super Nintendo
don't.
version that was created by Capcom, but
Mm-hmm.
no clue what's going. I think Capcom lost the rights or something.
Ooh, okay.
So
Mm,
it's not going to be released, which makes me really, really sad, deep down, because that's my all-time favorite,
wow.
and I may have broken some rules, and I may have a copy on my laptop.
What? Who? What? I didn't hear that. What? Who? Anyway.
But yeah, I love the Capcom version of the Aladdin game. It is one of my all-time favorites. So there's that. I have fond memories of it. The platforming, it's difficult. I think it's fair, like Donkey Kong Country. The
Mm-hmm.
great thing is that once you beat the stages, you can write down the passcodes, so
Yes.
you can go back and play through the later stages.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah.
Yes, passcodes. I remember those. That was the one benefit. That was the one benefit to them, where if you just typed in the right passcode, you could just access later levels if you wanted to do that. It was essentially,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah,
essentially
you typed in
say,
the right passcode and then you would fight Jafar, the final boss, and you're like, what am I doing?
yeah,
What the
yeah,
heck?
yeah. Save data like passcodes was a weird time where cheat codes and save data were just one and the same.
Mm.
It was a fascinating time. I definitely still prefer save points, but like for me personally, I prefer if like cheat codes and the save points are separate in this case. Like I played a lot of Star Wars Bounty Hunter on the GameCube, and you could input cheat codes to also go into the last level, but it also did save as well, so you could do either or, and that's what I definitely prefer. But we got off the subject a little bit, but yes. So in the future, me and Kristie will talk about getting her a special episode so she can play those Lion King Lion games. But getting back to Donkey Kong, yes, this is what happens.
Sorry.
So this is what happens by now. If you haven't realized, anytime me and Kristie talk, it just becomes banter. It's fine though. This is why you listen to us too. You know this is what happens. Anyways, Donkey
Start on
Kong
Kingdom
Country.
Hearts.
Yes, yes. It is the live action party banter. That's what it is. But yes, going back to Donkey Kong Country. I'm gonna have to title this Brandon Kristie Banter again, in addition to the actual doesn't hold up. I did it for the first video when we talked about Super Mario World last month. I was like, Super Mario hold up / Brandon Kristie Banter. I'm gonna have to put this, does this hold up / Brandon Kristie Banter again.
Yeah, I totally messed up, and so I need to find a copy of the Capcom Disney Afternoon Collection now for my PS4 because I've been holding off and waiting for, to come to the Switch, but it never did.
Yeah,
and
I don't.
I am disappointed.
I am also very disappointed. I deliberately did not buy that game because it's like, it is absurd that this game is not on Switch. I will not buy it any other system. And
Exactly.
At this point, I still feel that way. Like
still feel that way too.
Yeah.
And now I am like in my own like.
Like I buy so many games. Like it's not even about, of course, when that game first came out, Switch was just coming out, and of course it was a new console. You wanted to play everything on Switch, right? These days, though, I have a lot of games on my Switch and a big backlog on Switch by itself. So at this point, I'm at the point where I don't necessarily even mind buying a game on a different platform like PlayStation or whatever. Like I bought Persona 5 Strikers on PS5, for example, because I really wanted to take advantage of the faster load times and all that good stuff. And because it's not a game that I would be playing portably anyway, so I just wanted to take advantage of that. So I didn't buy it on Switch for that reason. But at Disney Have to Lose collection, it is no longer about the fact that I have too much Switch. It's principle. There is no reason that game should not be on Switch, and I will not buy it until they do put it on Switch.
And it's sad because they finally lost the right, and so now you can't even buy it.
Yeah, it's
makes me so sad because like it's games that, oh my goodness, how much it would make it so much easier because they're just pick up and go play. Pick up, go. Pick up, go play.
And those games were released on the NES and they're not on Switch! Who did this?
And now Capcom lost the rights, and so now it's been pulled off of everywhere. I tried to see if I can find it on Amazon. They don't have any more physical copies. No digital codes and whatnot, so we're basically SOL.
Damn. I still to this day have DuckTales Remastered on Wii U. I got it before it got delisted, and I'm going to play it one day while I still own it. But it is what it is. Anyway, let's finish up Donkey Kong Country though. Yeah, I'm definitely putting this Brandon Kristie Banter again. Anyway.
Anyways, back to Donkey Kong Country. Yeah, right. It's a great game. It's fun.
It's a great game.
Except for, the stop and go stage where, you're like, oh god, panic.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk about bosses. Like the first one, the Very Naughty is pretty simple. It's just like stomp on it. Later bosses will, require to use some mechanics. I've seen videos. So there's that as well. Yeah, the game does definitely get hard, but between suspend points and the in-game save system, it's fair. Now, let's talk a little bit about the 3 different options in which you can play any of the games. So, first option is single player, which is pretty cut and dry. You other players, Donkey and Diddy, they have slightly different jumping capabilities. Their sprites do matter a little bit. The thing is, in this game, it doesn't matter as much. Like, they're obviously not identical to play as. There's little differences. Later DKC games would definitely expand further on the whole different mechanics. Donkey Kong Country 2 is famous for that because Diddy could jump higher and he was more nimble. But Dixie could fly temporarily with her pigtail. She could her ponytail actually. She could just do like a little twirl in the air. And that's what really made that gameplay. We'll talk more about that when we get to that episode. But just to give an example of how different the gameplays got in later DKC games. But yeah, that's a single player experience for you. Switch between them and it essentially gives you 2 hits at any point. Kind of like the Mario power-ups in a way, but except it was like 2 characters. You could also do 2-player contests, which we did at the very end there, where essentially it's 2 players, but they're both playing identically how you would a single player. And it's just that. You're competing to see who can get further in the game. It's if you want to play with a friend or a relative or whatever, but you don't necessarily want to work together, you just rather compete. It's a cool way to do it, I guess, because you're still getting that single-player adventure while also playing with a friend. It's comparable, I would say, to like the Super Mario Brothers games where, Mario and Luigi, they weren't in the same level together. You're literally taking turns. going through each one, and I don't think you're completing the level for the other person. It's literally you have to complete all the levels in front of you. It's just see who can go further, right? You like one level may capture one may be easy for one and hard for another, and then that person like they're getting ahead. Then they get really stuck on this level, and then the other one will like start to catch up, and then they'll nail that level that guy was stuck on, and then it's an upset. I would I think if that's something you're into, I think you can have a lot of fun with that. But in my opinion, the best way to play this game is with somebody else in the 2-player team mode, which is what we did for the most of the stream, where one person plays Donkey Kong, one person plays Diddy Kong, and you take turns. And I think that you work together. It means you only have one hit each, but like a person, but you get to work together. If one part is really hard for the other, then the other person can fill in, or they both suck. You can just take turns until one of you gets it, I suppose. But I just think that's the most entertaining way to play the game. And the good thing is, again, all these games are on Switch. You can play this online. So me and Kristie do not live in the same states, but we can still play this game together. This game that we really enjoy and make progress if we want to, and we probably will. Like again, we did on the stream, but there's a good chance she and I may come back to this game on our own time and just see how many more levels we can see. Who knows?
How we're doing with Link to the Past.
Oh, hold that thought. A Link to the Past. I have something to say about that in a little bit. But yes, so all that to say with Donkey Kong Country, I love that there's many different options. There's a lot of different collectibles, and we haven't even talked about the animal buddies. The animal buddies are so cool. I mentioned it as we were actually playing, but it almost feels like an evolution of Yoshi in a way, because Yoshi with Super Mario World was a game changer in the fact that you had these little rideable buddies that could like help you through the levels. But of course, there's risk reward because even though Yoshi was really good, if he got hit once, then he would run away, and you'd have to try to get back on his back in order to use him again. And if you missed him, then you just have to go without him. It's the same thing with the animal buddies. If they get hit, you'll have to chase after them and catch them, and if you can't, then they're just gone. But there's so much more of them. You have Rambi the rhino, who just goes fast, plows through enemies. Winky the frog, who just jumps really high. You have Ungard the swordfish, which just goes through the water and can stab the enemies. I think I know it's in the bonus level, but can you also ride Espresso the ostrich in this game, Kristie?
I haven't gotten there yet, but I believe. Don't quote me on it, but I think so. I just haven't seen him yet, to be honest.
Okay, but I'm gonna assume so. That I think you can write Espresso later, and yeah, that's an option too. So it's Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country. You can certainly make a lot of comparisons, as I just did, but they also stand out on their own. Like Super Mario World has its own aspects that make it a timeless classic, and I think the same can be said for Donkey Kong Country. I think of the trilogy, I think most people prefer the second one, but the original is still a fantastic game that I think if you enjoy platformers, you should 100% try. Though not necessarily 100% the game, because that's very difficult. But if you want to just have a good time, it'll be a lot of fun. People ought to hold Donkey Kong Country in higher regard, and so do I. This game 100% holds up. Kristie, thoughts?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Summed up, but yeah, it still holds up. I mean, I still have the SNES Classic, and I still plug it in and play it because it's so much fun.
That's one thing. Love it. That's one thing that I definitely prefer about. There are some games that are on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition that are not here on Switch, and vice versa. This is definitely the way to go if you want to play the Donkey Kong games, because all 3 of the country games are here, and of course you have the online capability, so they're all there. I think the one thing that the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, the one reason why you want to go back to it these days if you have one, is the fact that it does have more RPGs. It has The Secret of Mana, it has Final Fantasy VI, it has Earthbound, which is still not in the service, much to many people's chagrin. But anyway, that's Donkey Kong Country, a great game. And on that note, I want to thank everyone for watching. And yes, like I said at the beginning of this stream,